Hello, my name is Colton Leahy. I'm an anti-geoengineering activist. I'm making a brief update to report on the current weather conditions. It's this late in January, and the temperature is rising tonight. It's rising up to 8 degrees Celsius, and it's raining. This is very unprecedented. This is not supposed to happen at all. I was actually born in February 10th to be exact, so my birthday's coming up pretty soon. And I also noticed around Christmas time it was raining then as well, and it was very warm. It was plus 14 degrees on one of the nights. And on Christmas it was also very windy. Some of us even lost power here in Cape Breton. The weather is getting more and more out of hand. And if you have been following me for quite some time, I have been saying that this is exactly what we would expect to see. In fact, back in November, I gave a projection for actually it was October, sorry. I gave a projection for how I felt November, December, January, and February would go. I said that in December, we would have temperatures swinging back and forth between very cold to suddenly very hot. Then in January, I said that I expected us to see warmer than usual temperatures, but it would go back and forth as well between the hot and the cold, and it has been doing that. It was negative 16 degrees Celsius last night. I was hungry, so I wanted to go to a quick trip to the store, right? And my windshields were frozen solid. I think I was out there for like 45 minutes trying to get it all off the window because it was like frozen solid. It was so cold. Like it was what it should be in January. You know, January is supposed to be a cold month. So is February. February is supposed to be the coldest month. Believe me, I would know. I've spent a lot of birthdays in the freezing cold. Not recently though. Not in 2016. Not in 2017. And I don't expect it to be very cold this year either. February is going to surprise a lot of people. I know I said that before, but I'm saying it again. February is going to be like, what in the world is going on with our weather? I mean, we should be thinking that already. It should already be registering into our head, hey, there's something not quite right about what's going on with, our natural weather systems here. And I hear people all the time say, oh, well, we live on an island, so you're going to get a whole mixture of things. And while to an extent that's true, there comes a point when something becomes unprecedented. In this case, we're seeing rain this late in January. I believe it's January 23rd. No, it turned over to January 24th. So it's January 24th, and it's raining, and it's 8 degrees Celsius. If you examine the snow, by the way, some of you have noticed that the properties of the snow has been peculiar. Well, if you take a look right now, if you're in this area, if you can see the snow right now, you can see that it's taking an unusually long time to melt. Keep in mind, what's the temperature that ice changes to water? 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So if it's plus 8 degrees, we would expect the snow to melt considerably fast. And I'm not saying that it's not melting. You can see that it is. But it's melting unusually slow. There's still a lot of it. And if there still ends up being snow out there tomorrow, it wouldn't surprise me. This snow is not natural. It's made out of an endothermic material. It's been chemically ice nucleated to create an endothermic reaction. An endothermic means that the moisture absorbs heat. It gets absorbed into the particulate that creates the reaction. What particulate am I speaking of? The particulates that come from the jet aircraft that are spraying our skies on a day-in, day-out basis. Not every day, but most days. And some days you notice that there's more than others. Like I'm sure some of you noticed that day back in October when there were like 80 or 100 of them in the sky all at the same time. That was, a little bit unreal. Since when do we have so much air traffic? You know what I mean? Like we have a couple of planes that go back and forth between here in Halifax. So it's, back and forth. Yet we see this fleet of aircraft coming in, and they come from all directions too, every compass direction. But usually when they do fly, they fly straight lines. Like if there's one going north, then there's another one coming south. Usually that's how it goes, so that there's no colliding air traffic. But that's what we see. Like there's a couple of them going north, and then there's another guy coming back south, the opposite direction. And that's what they do. They line the sky. The particulates float up there because they're tiny and they can float on the air. Even though they're solid, these are solid particulates, not gas, not vapors, solid. But they're so tiny that they're as light as a feather. They can float on the air for a couple of days before they eventually fall to the ground below. So what happens if you have a rain system, like you have clouds that are full of rain, they're about to, rain down? What happens when you pass a couple of jets through there with particles that cause the water to cool? Well, the water turns into snow or hail, and then it comes down. This is how they engineer winter. I've said before that I don't believe that we would have snow. We would not have snow in the winter time if it weren't for geoengineering. And we see out there that it's 8 degrees Celsius, and it should never be that way in January. Well, the point is this. The only time we experience those cold temperatures, like the negative 16 degrees that we had last night, is because of geoengineering. If we took geoengineering out of the equation, it would probably always be +8, or it would likely be even higher than that in January, February, all throughout the year. The point is that the temperature would be higher without geoengineering. But that does not mean that geoengineering is a good thing. In fact, geoengineering is causing this exacerbated global warming. It's making it happen quicker. So it's giving us less of a time frame to react. That's how lethal and dangerous it is. And in mentioning this, I had sent a donation in last year to an organization that had produced a movie. And as a result, they actually sent me something in the mail just today. They gave me the DVD. It's on Blu-ray. It's the No One Gets Out Alive documentary. And it's all about climate engineering by Walter Schmidt and technical advisor Dane Wigington. So he helped him with the film. And I'm just going to briefly read you what inspired him to make this film, for the same reason I'm inspired to partake in this cause, because I know it's real. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen with my own eyes, and once you see it, seeing is believing, right? So when you see it, you can't really say, oh yeah, that's just normal, but let's just hear what he has to say. He said, "Dear Colton, looking back, it's been a long journey since the day I had decided to make this film. Yet I remember that particular day very well. My visits to the Grand Canyon used to be my downtime, providing rest and relaxation from the strain of a busy lifestyle. However, the increased geoengineering activity over the rim started to become truly a concern of mine in recent years. Instead, to relax, I began to feel more and more irritated. On March 20th, 2016, during my morning walk at the Grand Canyon South Rim, the particulate disbursements from the aircraft begun, as usual, due west. The early morning sky was blue, speckled with a few cumulus clouds. I was observing the passing planes laying down thick patterns of trails. Instead of dissipating, they began to expand, and ultimately turned into whitish haze. By late morning, this haze encompassed the entire sky. I had asked people who passed by if they had noticed anything strange with this cloud pattern. No one seemed aware of what was obvious to me. This was the moment when I had decided to produce this documentary film. It was bad enough for me that I had to observe the ongoing geoengineering right over my head, but the unawareness of the people literally compelled me to act. I had produced a film previously, so I knew the tall order of the production and post-production tasks ahead of me. Without a doubt, the biggest hurdle was to overcome the financial cost to produce the film. And this is where you came into the picture. Your significant contribution made it all possible. I was hoping for good results, yet I was not expecting the incredible support I have had received. Thus, I would like to once more extend my sincere gratitude toward you. The film production and post-production took 1 year, We then submitted the film to almost 12 film festivals. Meanwhile, the film was shown on private screenings and had received extremely positive feedback throughout. Therefore, it came as a surprise that all of the film festivals declined to show the documentary in their program. Even particular venues who screen environmental films declined the submission. Perhaps it was not the quality of the film, but the critical implications made in it what held up a screening in any of the film festivals. Now it is your chance to review the film, and you be the judge if it warranted a showing. Going back to the beginning of this journey and my mission to produce this film, your involvement and contribution made it already a success, because I have produced this film for people just like you. In summary, I wanted to make people aware of a subject matter that deeply concerns all of us. As John F. Kennedy once so famously said, "We all inhabit this small planet, we all breathe the same air." Sincerely yours, Walter Schmidt, director of No One Gets Out Alive, the climate engineering clandestine matrix of bioengineering operations. I look forward to viewing this movie, and I am very grateful that it got some screen time. This needs to be widespread. This is an issue that is so critical, it just can't be ignored. This is why I'm a part of this. This is why I've taken a personal interest in this. And I'm certainly not a perfect person. If you haven't gathered that by now, you clearly haven't been looking closely enough. But that doesn't mean that what I say doesn't have some legitimacy. I can prove and validate my points as long as I'm able to back them up with sources or by showing the material that it's coming from. But again, I'm just like any regular person, I have my own flaws, my own quirks. I have my own personal family dramas around Christmas time. That's why I've been so not active lately, not active enough. And it's amazing how we allow those things to get in the way of what we know is more important. It's also a pretty intimidating topic when you think about it, because it's so unspeakably horrendous that there are people that are actually doing this, that it makes it almost inconceivable to believe, if you know what I mean. Anyways, I just want to shorten this up by saying we're in for some chop in regards to the weather. We're going down a place that it's like, I feel like I'm Alice about to go in Wonderland, or Dorothy about to go in Kansas. Or no, not in Kansas. I don't feel like I'm in Kansas anymore, is what I meant to say. I've already been there, done that. But now it gets more real as time goes on. Like, the more you think that this isn't happening, the more real it becomes. And I'm sure some of the people who held great scrutiny to me and basically, insulted me on public social media, or insulted my intelligence and didn't even address the points that I was making, But that's just the kind of society that we live in, I guess. It's a shame that this film didn't get as much coverage as it deserved. I can't wait to sit down and give it a watch. And if you want to know more about this issue, I recommend visiting www.geoengineeringwatch.org so that you can get more information and more source material on what's happening with our weather and what they're doing to our skies. I will continue to do the best that I can on my part in my community, but there's only so much I can do as one person. I live in a pretty small town too. A lot of people told me, if you really care about this issue, why not move to a big place? Why not go down to Halifax, try that? And I may move to Halifax as soon as I'm done with my personal responsibilities here. But that doesn't mean that I can't just, I can't sit on my ass forever, right? I have to keep trying. And it's good to, take a break every now and then. Like, your mind is exhausted, but keep in mind, like, we don't have the time that we once had. If we're going to enjoy ourselves, then find a time and place, but this issue must matter. This issue must hold importance. This must be our priority. We must make our voices heard while there's still a chance to salvage anything left of the Earth's life support systems, because if we lose those, then our children don't have a future, and it's as simple as that. I can't make it any more simple, and I'm sorry if it sounds so incredibly difficult to hear, and it's a shame that there are those people who actually don't care. I've had my fair share of learning about people who don't care, believe me, but point is, I care, and this issue will always matter to me, and I will always make an effort, and I will try. But I only ask people to research this issue and get this issue out to others. Pass along the data, pass along the information, help me reach a critical mass of awareness, and keep the dialogue going. That's all I ask. We can only do what we can do. And that's all we can ask of ourselves. But we can never give up, and we can never lose hope. Always, I will stay true, and I look forward to making more videos soon. I promise it'll be a little bit more in-depth and more detailed. I was trying to give a brief update on what's been going on lately. I'm just having a little bit of downtime. I've been in a really rough place. I'm coming back very soon, and I'm going to continue right where I left off. So again, thank you for tuning into this video, and I hope that you'll look into more information so that you can educate yourself on what's really happening to the weather and our climate system. You have yourself a nice evening or morning or afternoon, depending on when you see this video. And I'll talk to you again soon.